So thank you so much for joining me this morning. We are going to walk through DocuSign. And this morning's training is really going to focus on the basic functionality of how to use the DocuSign system with Command and how to get all of your documents updated, sent for signature, and uploaded into Command for compliance review. As I'm going through anything this morning, interrupt me with questions. You can unmute yourself or ask in the chat box. This training is all for you to learn how to use DocuSign. So I want to make sure that when we're done this morning, you feel more comfortable that you can send out your next contract through DocuSign. So I'm going to get started in Command. And the reason I'm going to get started in Command is because that's where our opportunity is. So, and that's where you kind of manage that transaction. So I'm going to click on the opportunities icon, which is the icon of the two hands shaking over here on the left-hand side. And I've already gone through the process of setting up the opportunity because I wanted to make sure we had the most amount of time possible of going through the actual DocuSign system. And then up here, I'm going to click on all opportunities to find the opportunity. Now you could click into whichever sales funnel your opportunity is in, but I like going to the all opportunities tab because this shows me all of my active opportunities in an easy list that I can find. So I'm going to click right here on 1234 Main Street, which is the opportunity I created this morning. I'm going to click on the opportunity and it's going to take me into the details tab. You'll be able to see I'm the owner of this opportunity. My client's name are Tony Stark and Pepper Potts. Here I've updated the property address information. And the reason I went through and I put in as much information as possible is because the DocuSign will pull in as much information as possible into DocuSign, so that way you don't have to fill that information in that system. One thing I do want to point out is if you create your contact in Command and then immediately create an opportunity and then immediately after that create your DocuSign room, DocuSign probably won't pull in that contact information. It does take the system a little bit of time for it to sync. So just know that if it doesn't pull in the contact information, it's probably just because it is a new contact. So once you're in the opportunity, I'm going to click on Documents. And this is where we're going to manage all of our documents and send to Lynn and Alita for compliance review. But in order to have documents to send, we have to start a transaction. And we have to actually create those documents in DocuSign. So what I'm going to do is over here in the right-hand corner, you see this dark button that says Start a Transaction. I want to pause here for a moment because it is very, very important that when you are working with DocuSign that you click Start a Transaction within Command. That, by clicking Start a Transaction here in your opportunity, it will link the Command system to the DocuSign system, and then you will be able to upload documents directly from DocuSign into Command, and the two systems will be linked. If you create a room in DocuSign directly, you will never be able to retroactively connect that room to an opportunity. So then you'd be left with having to download and then manually upload into Command. So always make sure you click Start a Transaction. It is very, very, very important. So I'm going to click Start a Transaction right here, and it's going to open up a new browser tab. That's going to have me log into the account that I created within Command. If you have pop-up blockers on, it will prevent DocuSign from opening up. So if you click Start a Transaction, you keep clicking it and nothing happens, it's probably because you have your pop-up blocker on. So up here in the URL bar, see if there's a little red box, that means you have the pop-up blocker on. Just turn that off and give DocuSign permission, and then you'll be good to go. So I'm going to click Continue. I'm going to log in. And now DocuSign has created a new room. A room is basically a room where you house all of your documents pertaining to a single transaction. In .loop, we call them loops. In Command, we call them opportunities. It's all synonyms for the same thing. It's just a place where you can focus on one transaction. You'll know that you're in the correct room because up here in the top left-hand corner, we have our room name of 1234 Main Street Stark Potts listing. And that's the same name that I gave the opportunity in Command. And then below that, we have an ID number. And I want to point that out because You do have the ability in DocuSign to email documents directly into your room. That's kind of more of a DocuSign 2.0 functionality, but I know a lot of people love that about .loop, so if you wanted to use that in DocuSign, you do have that ability. Once you create your room, DocuSign is going to put you into the Documents tab within your room. Your first instinct is going to be, all right, let's go ahead and start adding documents, but we're not going to do that this morning. I'm going to treat this as if this is the first time I've ever created a room. And in order to have access to any of the GAR forms, I have to confirm my NRDS ID number. And by confirming that number, it allows DocuSign, or lets DocuSign know that I have permission to use the copywritten GAR forms for my contracts. There are two ways that you can confirm your NRDS ID number, and I will show you both of them. The first one, and probably the most simple one, is since we're already here in the Documents tab, if you come up to the top right-hand corner and you click Add, and then select DocuSign Forms, you'll get this pop-up window with a Realtor logo and then the Northwest MLS logo. We'll want to select the National Association of Realtors logo, and then it's going to ask us for our 9-digit NRDS ID number. I've only met 2 agents that know their NRDS ID number, and I am not one of them. So thankfully, they put this nice link right here to find your NRDS ID, and you can click on that, and that'll open up a new browser window where you can search for your NRDS ID. You can use your last name, your email address, and your real estate license number to look up your ID. I'm going to use my last name and license number because I don't remember the email address that I have on file with the National Association of Realtors. I can't remember if it's my personal one or my KW one. So I'm just going to type in my last name and my license number and click Submit. And here it shows my NRDS ID number. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to close this browser tab, and then I'm going to come back into DocuSign. I'm going to paste that 9-digit number there in the field. I'm going to put my last name here. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're filling in your last name is it needs to be the same last name that you use to register with the Atlanta board, and thus your National Association of Realtors last name. If you got married or divorced or had any name changes, make sure that you use the same name, because your last name is going to be one of the points that DocuSign will be using to verify that you have access to that GAR form. Most times when agents say that they still don't have access to those forms, it's because the name that they put in there is different than what's on their association account. If you need a name change, let me know and I can get you in contact with the Atlanta board so that way you can make that change. So I have my last name here, and then I'm going to select the Georgia Association of Realtors in the association dropdown. I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then Georgia Association of Realtors is about 20th from the bottom. I select that. Then I'm going to click Validate. It's going to let me know that I've validated 2 association memberships. And then if this is your very first time confirming your NRDS ID number, there'll be another pop-up blocker here from the Georgia Association of Realtors asking you to accept the terms and conditions of using the GAR forms. Click Accept, and then you would have this pop-up window here where it would allow us to add new documents. So that's way number 1, or option number 1, for confirming your NRDS ID number. I want to show you the other way, just in case you have any issues with this way. Up in the top right-hand corner where you see your picture or your initials, click on that, and then select Preferences from the drop-down menu. And then over on the left-hand side in the menu, we're going to click on Integrations, and then scroll down just a bit, and we'll see here we have our NRDS ID information, and it's going to ask for that same information of our 9-digit code and our last name. Since I've just confirmed my NRDS ID number, it's already filled in here, but if you had it, where this button that says Clear, it would show a link to find your NRDS ID, and it would have that same pop-up, same link to that pop-up where you could search by your last name, email address, and license number. And again, you'd want to fill in your last name and select Georgia Association of Realtors, and then click Save Changes. So those are the 2 ways that you can confirm your NRDS ID. Make sure you do that before you do anything else in DocuSign, otherwise you will not have access to the GAR forms. Any questions about either one of those options? All right. So now that we've confirmed our NRDS ID number, I'm going to go back into the room that we just created. So I'm going to really quickly click on Dashboard, and then I'm going to go back into my room, and then I'm going to click into the Documents tab. And so I want to come back here to the Documents tab is because this is where whenever you create a room, DocuSign is going to automatically default you into the Documents tab. And like I said earlier, your first instinct is going to want to be to go ahead and start adding documents and get your buyer brokerage agreement and your listing agreement and your purchase and sale agreement all put together. Fight that urge, because before you do anything with a GAR form, you want to click over to the Details tab, and you want to fill in as much of the information about this transaction and this property as possible, because all of the information from the Details tab will auto-populate into your GAR forms, and that will save you a lot of time. So you can see here, we have our name of our room, we have a room information about the property, some listing information, and then we have client information on the right-hand side. So I want to go through and fill this in, so that way I can save time on the back end when I'm actually in my GAR forms. I do want to point out that DocuSign does not pull in listing information directly from FMLS like .loop does. But if you fill it in here, you should only have to fill in that information one time, and it will automatically load, excuse me. It will automatically load into those GAR forms. So to start editing the information, I'm going to click Edit in the top right-hand corner. And now I'm just going to start at the top, and I'm going to work my way down, filling in as much of the information that I have. You do have the ability to come back into the Details tab at any time throughout a transaction and update and change information based on where you are in any negotiations. So I can change the room name if I wanted to, but I'd recommend just leaving it the same, so that way it mirrors the opportunity name in Command. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to select local currency, USD, MLS ID number. I would paste this in from FMLS. So I'm just going to type in a fake number today. Origin of lead, company room status. I don't need that. And then I'm going to type in my address of 1234 Main Street. We are in Atlanta, Fulton County. Select Georgia. 30342. Property type, I'm going to do residential detached, year built. I'm going to select 2005, and then check any special circumstances. No special circumstances. Now, one thing I wanted to point out really quickly here is that for today's example, I'm actually going to do a listing, because this morning's, I want to walk you through how to use disclosures. So I'm going to fill in the listing details here. So we're going to add today's date for the listing date, listing expiration date. I'll just select December 13th, original listing amount. So I'm going to type that in, 375. Current listing, 375. Perfect. Scrolling down, offer details. I don't have any offer details yet because I'm just getting ready to list this property. Scrolling down, high bid. I don't have any bid. I don't have any closing information. No additional information. I don't need to fill in these property details. I don't need this. So I'm good to go with all of the information about the property. Now what I want to do is I want to fill in the information for my clients in the right-hand column. Now, because today's example is a listing, I have seller 1 and seller 2. So you can see here that DocuSign pulled in my client's information directly from Command. So we have seller 1, Tony Stark, and here's his information, his email address. At a bare minimum for your clients, you need to have their name and their email address. That is what's going to allow the system to email your clients to sign the documents. So I have name and email address for Tony, seller 1. Scrolling down, I have seller 2, Pepper Potts, and then here's her email, which is just my personal email. And then scrolling down, we have listing agent, which is myself. So it's added my information here. I'm going to finish filling in this information so it's complete, because again, I want it to auto-populate in the GAR forms. So just fill in as much information as possible. 30342, perfect. Continuing to scroll down, You'll see we have listing agent 2. So if I was working with another agent on this property, I could add his or her name here. And then scrolling down, we'll see we have buyer 1. So if you are working with a buyer, then you would want to fill in your buyer's client information here for buyer 1. Again for buyer 2. And then if you're the buyer agent, you can fill in that information here as well. Now, since today I'm working on a listing, I could theoretically add in a co-op agent's information here. Once we go under contract, you can do that. And I'm going to tell you now, and I'll tell you again when we get to sending out documents, I do not recommend sending documents to any co-op agent for signature through DocuSign. And it'll make more sense later on once we kind of get to that stage. But the functionality of DocuSign just gets kind of messy when you start sending documents to co-op agents directly through DocuSign. So you'd fill in your buyer's agent information and then buyer agent number 2. So just know you want to come to the details tab when you first get into DocuSign and make sure all of the information is as updated and correct as possible. Once you've done that, click Save in the bottom right-hand corner. It'll let you know the room has been updated and you're good to go. So now we can start working on our GAR forms. So I'm going to click on the Documents tab here. Now we have this Room Docs folder. DocuSign will default to adding any new documents into the Room Docs folder. So anytime you upload a document or add a GAR form, or there's a completed document, a completed signature document, it'll automatically go into the Room Docs folder. But you do have the ability to organize your room any which way you want. In .loop, we used to have very specific guidelines of how to set up our folders for compliance review. Since compliance does not take place in DocuSign, you can organize it any which way that you want and whatever works best for your business. If you want to add additional folders, which I do recommend, come up to the top right-hand corner and click on Actions, and then Add Folder. And then I'm going to give this a name, so I'm going to do Listing Documents. Actually, I'll name this Listing Agreement. And then click Create. And now I have my new folder right there. And you can add as many folders as you want, whatever works well for your business. And as you're playing around with DocuSign, start to think of how you want things to be organized so you can create that system so it's easier for you going forward, because once you get to the end of a transaction, you will start to have a lot of documents in here. So now that we have our Documents tab set up, now we can start adding documents. To add your GAR forms, I'm going to come up to the top right-hand corner. I'm going to click the Add button and select DocuSign Forms. We'll have this pop up where it says Add DocuSign Forms Library, or you have DocuSign Forms Groups. If you're an agent with the First Atlanta, you want to leave it as DocuSign Forms Library. But if you are with Atlanta Perimeter, Stacy has gone through and created groups for you. And those groups are going to have a group of your your commonly used listing documents, buyer documents, leases, tenants, all those different groups of transactions that you're likely going to need. We did not set that up at First Atlanta because we wanted to make sure everyone knew how to find their GAR forms in the system before setting up those groups. So for today, I'm going to click on DocuSign Forms Library, and then I'm going to select the Georgia Association of Realtors, the GAR library, and this is going to pull up all 180 GAR forms. Here we need to search for the forms that we want. So we're doing a listing, so we need our exclusive seller listing agreement, seller's property disclosure, and community association disclosure. So you can search for those by name. So I'll search exclusive seller listing agreement. Now you'll see here we have 3 different options. So you'd be really mindful of which option you select, because I am embarrassed to say more times than I care to count, I have selected the wrong version of a document. So you can see here we have a commercial listing agreement, seller listing agreement, and a non-exclusive. So I'm going to select F101. Then I want to select the seller's property disclosure. And again, we have 4 different options here. So we want to make sure we select the right one, F301. And then we want our community association disclosure. So F322. Now, I also want to add the purchase and sale agreement because this morning I want to walk through that document with you because it's probably going to be one of the most important documents you work with in real estate. And I want to show you that you can search by the form number, so F201, and pull up that form. So as you start to use documents more regularly, you'll start to learn the form numbers, and hopefully, fingers crossed, in 2021, GAR doesn't change the form numbers again. So you can select that form, and you'll see here that in the bottom left-hand corner, it says 4 forms selected. So that lets me know that all the forms that I've selected are good to go, and I'm going to click Add. Now DocuSign is going to reload and add those documents into my room. And as I mentioned earlier, all documents will default into the Room Docs folder, but I want to organize it, so I want to move all of my listing agreement documents into the listing agreement folder. There are 2 ways that you can move documents into different folders. The first way is if you roll your mouse over a document, you'll notice this radio button in the top left-hand corner. If you click on that and select that document, anytime you select a document, this toolbar will appear in the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select 2 of my listing agreements forms, and then I'm going to come up to this toolbar, and if you roll your mouse over the icons, it'll let you know what that icon does. And I'm going to select Move, and then I'm going to select a destination. I'm going to select Folder in Current Room, and then I'm going to select the Listing Agreement folder and click Move. The page will reload, and those 2 documents will be in my Listing Agreement folder. The second way that you can move documents is by rolling your mouse over a document icon, clicking on it, holding down your mouse, and drag it into the folder that you want, and it's that simple. So those are the 2 different ways that you can move documents in folders. So now that we have our documents organized, let's go through and let's start updating documents. I'm going to start with the exclusive seller listing agreement. So I'm going to open this up. Give the system a second to load. Sometimes it's faster than others. Just try my best to be patient. And what I recommend is whenever you're going through a GAR form, just start at the top and work your way down and fill in the information as accurately and thoroughly as possible. I do want to clarify that for today's training, this is about how to use DocuSign, and this is not about what type of information to fill in on any of those GAR forms. For that, please refer to Lynn and Alita as our compliance brokers. I'm just going to kind of put in really simple and abbreviated information this morning. So scrolling down, you'll see here for section 1, it auto-populates the address, the city, county, zip code. I need to add in the tax parcel ID, so I would get this probably from Realist or the tax assessor. So I'm just going to type in a fake number there. Legal description, attached as an exhibit here too. Or if you're like me, you can use the deed booking page, but select whichever one you're going to use. Scrolling down, we have listing period. So we'll do our listing period for today's date of 11/13/2020. And then the nice thing about DocuSign is that you can tab to your next box. So then I'll do 12/13/2020. Now I want to point something out to you is if you notice how I'm writing in this date in that numerical order with the forward slashes, I would recommend that you get comfortable writing your dates out like this because most of the date fields are set up this way to be in this order. Now we don't have the calendar functionality that we did in .loop to select the date, but I would recommend getting comfortable writing it in this order. We can see here for list price, it auto-populated $375 based on the details tab. We want to select the seller does have the right to negotiate on our client's behalf. And then marketing, we'll do FMLS, Georgia MLS, and KWLS. And again, like I said, I'm just doing quick abbreviations. We'll do listing agreement. I negotiated 6% with my sellers, and we agreed to pay 3% of that to our co-op agent. Protected period shall be negotiate 90 days. I am an independent contractor, and we do not offer dual agency and sub-agency. So it's really simple to start at the top and fill in that information. I'm going to scroll down. We don't have many special circumstances. I'm going to keep scrolling. Lots of text here. All right, so now we'll get to section 9, brochures. All of the brochures are uploaded into DocuSign, so you can send whichever ones you want to your clients. So lead-based paint, mold. We don't need lead-based paint because this is built in 2005. We can do radon, protecting yourself when you sell a home. So make sure you do add those and send these to your clients. And then section 10, exhibits and addenda. We have our legal exhibit, and we'll make this exhibit A. Scrolling down, if you have any special stipulations that you'd like to include in your listing agreement, you can add those here and just type them in. You can add as many as you like. Now, I do want to point out that you are limited to this space here. So if you need to add additional stipulations, you have two options. You can select the additional special stipulations are attached, and you can add that form and add them there, or you could add a text box in the envelope in just a few moments, and you can add some more there in smaller font. So I'm going to continue to scroll down. We'll see here, it's added our clients' names and email addresses here, and then it's populated most of my information. We have our broker name, Keller Williams Realty First Atlanta. Now, one thing I want to point out is that this name, Keller Williams Realty First Atlanta, is pretty long, and for some of the boxes on other forms, it is too long. So I would recommend that if you're with First Atlanta, just remove Realty, so it's Keller Williams First Atlanta. And if you're with Atlanta Perimeter, you have approval to do KW Atlanta Perimeter. That both of those names will suffice to make sure that it fits in the box. You'll see here that we are still missing a fair amount of information for the broker and our licensee. So just fill it in. You do have to manually do this. There are conversations with DocuSign for the 2021 forms. Hopefully get it to where all of these fields can pre-populate, since this information will be the same on every single form. So I'm going to start filling in my office code, KWFA01, license number H33313, fax number 404-531-5708, license number 379844, fax number, license number 379844. Oh, oops, I put my license number there. So 404-414-8238. And then I'm a member of the Atlanta board, which does not need to be in caps, but okay. So just fill in that information and you'll be good to go. So now once you have gone through the form, you need to click Save and Close. You can do that either at the bottom of the form here or up here in the top right-hand corner. And that will save all of that information. And you'll be good to go. Move on to your next form. All right, so now that we've done our listing agreement, let's move on to our seller's property disclosure. So to update that, I'm just going to open it here. All right, so we'll see here that the property address has been auto-loaded, which is perfect. We don't have an offer date, so we can leave that blank, and we don't have an exhibit letter yet because this is not yet a part of a contract. So scrolling down, you'll see here all the information for the disclosure. There's no text fields and there's no radio buttons here. That is on purpose. So us as agents are not allowed to fill in any disclosures on behalf of our clients. They need to fill in that information. So we are not mapped to be able to fill in any of this information. All of these fields are mapped to seller one. So only your client can fill it in. And I'll show you in the envelope what it appears to your client. So just know that when you come through any of the disclosures and there's nothing for you to update, that is purposeful. But I still want to scroll through and just make sure that there isn't anything that I am missing to fill in, but so far everything looks good. Scrolling down, everything looks good. And then we have our clients' names auto-filled, perfect. And I'm good to go, so I'm gonna click Save and Close. Next, I wanna work on the community association disclosure, and it's gonna be the same thing as the seller's property disclosure. It will auto-populate our address for the property. We don't have an offer date yet. We don't have an exhibit letter. And scrolling down, again, you'll see all of these text boxes and check boxes are blank because we do not have access to fill in any of this information. So again, can't type anything in here. Scrolling down, making sure we're not missing anything. Perfect, good to go. So I'm gonna click Save and Close. Any questions on filling in the listing agreement or disclosures before we jump into the purchase and sale agreement? All right. Well, perfect. Well, if any questions come up, like I said, please interrupt me. So next I want to walk through the purchase and sale agreement, which I know is going to be out of order and unconventional if you're actually working on a listing, but I do want to make sure that we go through that so that way you know how to write offers, because that's how we get paid. So I'm going to select or click on the purchase and sale agreement to open it up. And again, you can see here, some of that information is auto-filled in from the details tab. And we'll just start at the top and we'll work our way down to fill in all of the remaining fields. So offer date, so I'll just write an offer date for today. So we'll do 11/13/2020. Now you see here, I'm writing I'm writing the date in the numerical order. We want to continue to do that. We have our address information, our MLS ID number. We'll put in our tax ID number. I'll just get that, like I said, from realist or tax assessor. We have our legal description attached as an exhibit here too. Purchase price of the property paid by buyer. So we listed at $375, so I'll just write an offer for $370. One thing I want to point out here is that for this field, for the purchase price, it won't save with commas in it. So if you do put a comma in there, when it saves, it will automatically delete it. So don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong, but you just need to pay extra close attention to make sure you don't put in too many zeros. Closing costs, seller's contribution to closing, I'm going to ask for $5,000. Now, for section 4, as I've mentioned, when you start writing in dates, make sure it's in numerical order. For whatever reason, there's some error happening in DocuSign that if you put in the date in section 4 for closing date and possession in any other format other than that numerical format, it will cause an error and will not save any of the information that you've put in the purchase and sale agreement. And I do not want you to go through all that work of filling out an offer and then have to do it again. So what you want to do is you'll type in your date. So we want to take possession. We'll do 12/13/2020. And again, make sure that all of your dates are in this numerical order. And then I'm going to select possession at closing. But just make sure, I want to point out again, that your date for section 4 is in this order. Otherwise, you will get that error message. Holder of earnest money, I'm going to do KWFA. I'm going to tab over to our closing attorney. I'm just going to select Campbell and Brannon. Earnest money will be paid by check, and we'll do $3,700 within 3 days of binding. We are asking for 10 days of due diligence. Lead-based paint was not built prior to 1978. Right, section 10. The selling broker, we can, the co-op agent, we can just say is from Harry Norman, representing buyer as client. I'm representing seller as client. Now you'll see here, it's going to add my name there. That's fine. Do not delete that. Anytime that you delete or change information that's been pre-populated on a GAR form, it will change that information in the details tab and then change or delete that information on every subsequent document in the room. So while you're going to be like, oh, I want to delete my name there, doesn't make sense. It's fine because we don't have option 4 checked. So the closing attorney will not think that you were acting as a designated agent. We'll do material relationships, NA, time limit of offer. We'll do 12 p.m. For 11/14/2020. So I'm going to continue down through my purchase and sale agreement, and we're going to go through lots of text. And this is all the explanation of what the previous sections are about and what they mean. If you haven't taken one of Lynn or Alita's contract classes, I highly recommend it. Scrolling down, now we get to our exhibits. For whatever reason, the all cash sale is added here as Exhibit A. We'll remove that. But we do want to have our legal property description. We can do that as Exhibit A. We can do our seller's property disclosure here as Exhibit B. And then we'll do our community association as C. And then whichever financing exhibit you would choose, or any other exhibits. But since I didn't add a financing exhibit, I won't add that to the purchase and sale agreement for now. Now we'll scroll down to special stipulations. And again, here you can type in any stipulations you want to add. For whatever reason, when DocuSign was going through and mapping the text fields, this is the only amount of space that they gave. I don't know why they didn't use the full space here. So it's not a lot. And I know that some agents have a ton of stipulations they like to include on every single contract. If for whatever reason, the stipulations do not fit here, that is fine. You have 2 options of how you can add more stipulations. The first one is you can check the additional special stipulations are attached, and you can add that form to your room and fill in your stipulations there. Or we can add a text box in the envelope and add more stipulations, and we can actually make the font smaller so you can fit more in the box. Now, I will say this, you probably are not going to make friends with a co-op agent or closing attorney with very small font stips, but it is a workaround so you can have them all in one place. So I'm just going to type in some stips here. Lots of them are stips. So you just type them in. Now we'll scroll down. All right, so now we get to the signature part. And you can see here it auto-populates my clients' names and email addresses. It is a personal preference of mine that I do not like to share my client's contact information with any co-op agent. 9 times out of 10, your co-op agent is going to be very respectful of the relationship that you have with your clients. However, I don't want a chance that some co-op agent may go directly to my clients and try to cut me out of a deal or do anything that could negatively affect my relationship with my clients. So my first thought here would be to delete their email address, but do not delete their email address out of the purchase and sale agreement. If you delete their email address here, it will delete it from the details tab. And then when we go to send these documents for signature, they will not have a contact email address. I will show you in the envelope how you can block out your client's email address so the co-op agent won't be able to see it. It's not going to be the most beautiful looking solution, but it is a workaround to protect you and your clients. So I'm going to leave their information as is. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to fill in, excuse me, any missing information that I have here. So my realtor membership, I'll do Atlanta. I'm going to update my license number, which as I said, any pre-populated information will get changed. My brokerage MLS office code, KWFA 01. So we'll leave that as is. Now, if you wanted to, you could fill in your co-op agent's information here. You can get all of that out of MLS. And I would recommend that you fill in the co-op information. I know when I'm submitting offers on behalf of my clients, I'm going to do everything and anything that I can do to get my client's offer accepted. And if that means something as simple as filling in the co-op agent's information so he or she does not have to do it, I will gladly take that extra 5 minutes of my time to save them that little bit of hassle if it means that it puts my client's offer higher up on their consideration list. But like I said earlier, I do not recommend sending any documents to co-op agents for signature through DocuSign. So now that we filled in all of the information for our purchase and sale agreement, I'm going to click Save and Close. While that is saving, any questions on adding documents, filling in documents, anything that we've gone over so far before we jump into creating envelopes? All right. So now that we have created or updated all of our forms, now we need to send them for signature. The way that we send documents for signature in DocuSign is through an envelope. And the way that Michael New explained envelopes to me, and I think it's a really great metaphor, so I like to share it with you, is that think of an envelope in DocuSign like a manila envelope in real life. If you had printed out hard copies of all of these documents, you would prepare them, handwrite in all the information, and then put them in a manila envelope to organize them, and then you'd put that on the corner of your desk. Then when you saw your client, you would hand that envelope, that manila envelope, to your client and say, please review and sign. Think of envelopes in DocuSign in that same way as a manila envelope that you were using to transport organize and transport your documents to your clients. There are two ways that you can create envelopes. The first way is you can roll your mouse over any document that you want to create or send in an envelope. And then when you select those documents, that toolbar will appear. And then you can roll your mouse over the icons and get to the icon that says Create Envelope. That will create the envelope for you. The other way to create envelopes is to click on the Envelopes tab. And then up in the top right-hand corner, we'll select New. And so either way would take us to the same screen. And we're going to start at the top and we'll work our way down, filling in the information. So I'm going to give this an envelope name. The envelope name is to help you keep track of all the different envelopes. As you were going through a transaction, you're going to send maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, tons and tons of envelopes. So you want to make sure that you name them something that you can easily go back and keep track of. So I'm going to name this 1234 Main Street, and I'm going to do exclusive seller listing agreement and purchase and sale. So I can keep track of it. Your client is not going to see this, so you can name it whatever you want, but be mindful that you do want it to be a client-friendly name. Our next step is we're going to add documents to the envelope. We have three different options here. We have room docs, use a template, and more. I want to select all of the documents that we just uploaded or updated in our room. So I'm going to select room documents, and then I'm going to select all four of them. Now, since we just started this room and there's only 4 documents in the room, it's pretty easy to select just these 4. But as you're going through a transaction and those documents start to accumulate in your room, it will be more and more difficult to go through and pick out the correct one that you want to send for signature. So just be really careful and make sure you read through the full name to add the correct document. So I'm going to click Add Selected, and it's going to add those documents to my envelope. In addition to sending over these forms, I also need to include the affiliated marketing and wire fraud prevention disclosures. If you are an agent with First Atlanta, those disclosures are templates that the MCA office has shared with us. To find them, we're going to click on Use a Template. And then I'm going to click on Shared with Me. And this is going to show all of the templates that the MCA office has shared with us as agents. We'll give it a second to load. Sometimes DocuSign is faster than others. All right, and now we'll scroll down. And we'll see here we have affiliated marketing and wire fraud disclosures, but it says they are buyer versions. And if I scroll down, I can see, I can see we have seller versions of those same disclosures. They are the same documents, but you want to make sure that you select the correct version based on which side of a transaction you were working. The reason is because the signature fields on these documents or these disclosures are going to be mapped to either a buyer or a seller. So since today I'm working on a listing, I want to select the seller versions so that way the signature fields are mapped correctly. If I select the buyer version by accident, there will not be anywhere for my seller clients to sign. So now that I've added the disclosures, I've selected them, I'm going to click Add Selected. And it's going to add these documents to the room or to the envelope. Perfect. And then the last option that you have, if you need to add any more documents to the envelope, you can click more and you can upload documents directly from your computer, or you can add them from Box or Dropbox or Google Drive. So just know that that is there if you need to upload any from your computer. Now we have 6 documents here, but I want these documents to be signed in a specific order. I want my sellers to sign the listing agreement before the seller's property disclosure, before the community association disclosure, and I want the purchase and sale agreement to be the last document they sign. To reorder the signing, or to reorder the documents, roll your mouse over the document icon, click on it, hold it down, and drag it into the position that you want. So we'll start with our listing agreement. Then I want the seller's property disclosure. So I'm going to drag that over into the second position. Then we have our community association. Then I want my disclosure. So I'm going to select my purchase and sale, and I'm going to drag that to the last position. And now all 6 documents are in the correct signing order. This is the only place that you are able to reorder the documents. If you do not reorder them here, you are not able to reorder them on the next screen when we go to double check signatures. Also, for whatever reason, I don't know why, if you create an envelope and then halfway through you come up here and click save and close, and then you come back, it will reorder them in alphabetical order, and you won't be able to change them back into your preferred order. So just be mindful of that. So now that we have all our documents added to the envelope, we have them in the correct order. Now we're going to scroll down and we're going to add recipients to the envelope. To add recipients, we're going to click on the Add Recipient button. And then we have 3 options here. We have pre-tagged roles, room participants, and email addresses. Since we are using GAR forms, we want to select pre-tagged roles. Always select pre-tagged roles when it is available. DocuSign has gone through and mapped all of the signature and initial fields and any fields that need to be filled in by our clients with these pre-tagged roles. If you do not select pre-tagged roles, you will have to manually add every signature or initial field on these documents, which will take a long time and is more work than it's worth. So always select pre-tagged roles. So select pre-tagged roles, and we'll have this pop-up window here, and it's going to give us options for every single available role on those documents. I'm going to select Seller 1, and I'm going to click on the Select drop-down menu, and I'm going to select Tony for Seller 1. I'm going to come to Seller 2, and I'm going to select Pepper Potts. And then I'm going to come to Listing Agent, and I'm going to select myself. Now, your name will likely be in here twice. Once as the listing agent that you added to the Details tab, and the other will be as a agent owner of the room. You can pick either version, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to select myself here, and I'm just going to select these 3, and then I'm going to click Add Selected. And again, I do not recommend sending any documents for signature to co-op agents through DocuSign. So I'm not going to add my co-op agent here. Now we have all 3 recipients, and there's a handful of information I want to walk through here. On the left-hand side of each one of the recipient boxes, you can see this little box with a number 1 in it. Those little boxes signify what the signing order is. It will default to everyone signing at the same time, but you may want someone to sign first, and then someone to sign second, and then someone to sign third. You can assign the signing order by updating the numbers in these little boxes. So I want Tony to sign first because Tony is Seller 1, and he's going to have access to fill in the information for my seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure. I want Pepper to sign second because I want her to be able to review those documents, make sure that Tony filled everything in correctly and didn't miss anything, and then sign it. So I'm going to make her second. So I'll just type in 2 and then click out of it. And now we've made Pepper second. And I'm going to make myself as the listing agent. I want to sign third. So I want to make sure that all the information is good to go. So that's how you update the signing order. You can do this in whichever order works well for your business. I know some agents like to be the first ones to sign. Some agents like to be the last. There's no right or wrong way. It's going to pull in our clients' names and email addresses directly from the Details tab. Then to the right here, we have a drop down where it says Needs to Sign. We have a handful of different permissions that we can assign to each recipient. It will default to Needs to Sign, which means that there will be signature fields for this client to sign. The next is Needs to View, so if they just need to view the document, they don't need to do anything, that's fine. The next is Receives a Copy. This is only if they just need to get a copy of the document. And I've heard a couple agents use this as, to send documents to their closing attorney or lenders. Once everything is signed and binding, it'll go directly to them. That is a good use of this. However, you want to make sure that you properly communicate to any partners that if they are going to be receiving an email with these documents, that they have a heads up so they know what the transaction is. And last is Specify Recipient. Over here, we have a More dropdown, and we have two options here. The first is Add an Access Authentication. If you're working with a client that is uncomfortable with e-signature platform, you can add an additional layer of security by selecting Add Access Authentication. By doing that, you're able to assign a digit access code that your client would need to fill in before signing. So I can add in just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And so now I can tell Tony, hey Tony, before you go to sign, the system is going to prompt you to fill in an access code of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is going to prevent anyone from potentially hacking into your email address and then signing documents on your behalf unbeknownst to you, and then that way you don't go under contract on a property you had no clue about. But you do need to be sure to give this code to your clients. I don't want to add one today, so I'm going to click Discard. And then the next option we have is Add a Private Message. So if you want to send a message specifically to one person, you can do a private message. So I'm going to add one here. It says, hi, Tony. Please be sure to fill in all of the info on the SPD and CAD. Thank you, Nick. Now I'm adding this message because Tony as seller one is going to be the only person that is able to fill in the information on those disclosures. So I just want to send a quick reminder. But I've already talked to him. I've called up and I said, Tony, I'm sending this over to you. You have to fill in the information, so better you don't skip it. But here's a quick reminder as well. So those are our different options for our recipients. Once we've added our recipients, we've put them in the correct signing order. We've given them the correct permissions and any additional private messages. I'm going to scroll down, and now I can add a message to the recipients. The default email subject will be please DocuSign, and I recommend that you leave that in there so that way your clients know that they need to DocuSign something. But I would also recommend adding in your property address and then adding in what it is they're signing. So exclusive seller listing agreement and purchase and sale. So this way they know exactly what it is that's in their inbox and what the expectations of them are. And then you can add a quick email message. So I would say, hi, Tony and Pepper. Please review and sign all of the docs for the ESLA and purchase and sale for 1234 Main Street. Thank you, Nick. Now this is just a really short message. I may put a little bit more context if I were to send this to actual clients. So once we've gone through, we've given our envelope a name, we've added all of the documents that we want to send for signature, we've put them in the correct order, we've added our recipients and put those in the correct signing order and given them the correct permissions and written a message to our recipients. We're going to click on the next button up here in the top right-hand corner. And this is going to take us into the DocuSign editor. And here is where we're going to make sure that all of the signature fields are properly assigned, all of the text fields are properly assigned, and we can add any additional fields that may be missing. Before we jump into making any changes here, I want to kind of walk through the layout of this page. So up here in the very top left-hand corner, there is an arrow button that's to go back. If for whatever reason you need to go back and change something in the envelope, you can click go back here, and that will take you back to that envelope creator. DocuSign does auto-save the changes you've made. So as you've gone through and added signature fields or text fields, it will auto-save those, so they should be there when you come back. If you make a change to a document in the Documents tab that's already been added to an envelope, any of those additional text fields or signature fields will be deleted, and you would have to manually re-add those. Below the Go Back button, you can see here it says Tony Stark and it has a yellow circle next to it. If you click on that, there's a drop-down menu with all the envelope recipients with a different color. And those colors correspond with assigned signature fields and text fields. So you can more easily visualize who is responsible for signing which fields. If you select a different name, you can notice that all of the standard fields below here change color. And that again is to let you more easily see who is responsible for which fields. Below here are all the different standard fields. So we have signature, initial, date signed, name. Anytime you need to add any of these fields, you can just click on it and add it to the document. Here in the middle is going to be a preview of the document. We're going to scroll through this in just a moment, so that way we can make sure everything's added correctly. To the right over here, we have thumbnails of all of the documents. And you can see that these documents are in the correct order that I placed them in when we added them to the envelope. So we have listing agreement, SPD, CAD, fraud, wire fraud, affiliated marketing, and purchase and sale. You can open any one of them up and scroll down to thumbnails. And then you'll see here on page 8, we have these little tabs in the top left-hand corner. And that lets me know that there is a signed fields for each one of these people with these assigned colors on this page. So this makes it really simple for me to go through and double check to make sure that all those signature fields are added correctly. And then you can do the same for the seller's property disclosure. You can see here we have yellow tabs, so I know that there's something assigned to Tony on each one of these pages. Now, let's go through the documents and double check and make sure that all of the signature fields and text fields and everything have been added correctly. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm just going to double check. Oh, you can see here for my legal description, I thought I had checked attached as an exhibit here too, but I must have not done that. Well, in the envelope editor here, I do have the ability to add a checkbox. So I'm going to click on checkbox right here. And I'm going to add that checkbox right there. And over on the right-hand side, whenever you select a standard field, this menu will pop up, and we have a bunch of different options of what we can do. Well, I want to go ahead and check this, so I'm going to click checkbox values, and I'm going to click this box right here, and that will check that field. I'm also going to select read only because I want this checkbox to appear when everyone signs it, and I don't want to have the ability to edit that checkbox when I go to sign. So I've added my checkbox for my listing agreement. I'm going to scroll down, double check, make sure all the date information is correct. Perfect. Our list price. We do have the right to negotiate. Our marketing, commission, protected period, independent contractor, dual agency, sub-agency. So you can see all that information is checked correctly. I'm going to continue to scroll down. Keep scrolling. Lots of pages. Perfect. We can see here are all the brochures that I want to send. Now, for time today, I did not go through and actually add those to the envelope, but you do want to be sure that if you select them here, that you do send them. We have our exhibits. I don't know why C is, that was not correct. That is weird. Don't want that there, so we'll just leave it for now just to move on. Here are our special stipulations. Scrolling down, we can see here we have our client signatures. Yellow is Tony, so it's going to be his signature, and it's going to automatically add the date. For Pepper, she's blue, and date signed. Scrolling down to me, I'm purple. We have all that information here. Now, since I'm the third and final signer of all these documents, I can go ahead and add text boxes down here to make this listing agreement binding. To do that, I'm going to select myself from the drop-down menu. So I'm going to select purple to make sure all the standard fields are purple. I'm going to click text box, and I'm going to put that text box right there. and I'm going to format it to fit. Add that right there. And then you can right mouse click any of these standard fields and click copy and then paste. And that way I can just paste that right there and makes it really easy. And now to add a date, I can just come over here to date signed and easily add this date, and the system will auto-populate the date when I go to sign this. So since I'm the third one, I can make this binding, because then after everyone signs it, DocuSign does send copies to everyone. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to continue into my seller's property disclosure. Now remember when I told you that when we were in the Documents tab, I didn't have the right to fill in any of the information. But if you see here, all of these boxes are yellow. And if I click on it, it lets me know that the recipient is Tony Stark. One thing you also notice is that these text boxes are just outlined in yellow, and that lets me know that they are not required fields. If a field is not required, DocuSign will not stop that user on that field to fill in that information before signing and clicking complete. Most times when I hear from an agent saying, hey, I sent my disclosures to my seller, but when he or she went to go sign, there was nothing for him to fill out. Well, probably what happened is that they just skipped over all of these fields and didn't know that they needed to scroll up to fill them in. A quick workaround that you can do to make sure that your clients do not skip all of these fields is that we can make this field right here, what year is this residential dwelling constructed. You select that, and in the menu on the top, on the right-hand side, click required field. Now, you know right here that that is a required field because the entire box is highlighted yellow. And so the system will stop at this box and make them fill it in. And the benefit of them filling in this one box is that the system will stop, so it'll be more easy for them to continue to go through and fill in the other boxes and check those other pieces of information. So make sure you check this first box is required, and it'll really save you some time. So scrolling down, we'll see all these other fields and buttons are correctly assigned to seller one, to Tony. So I'm gonna continue to scroll down. All right, everything looks good to go. And here we have Tony's signature and Pepper's signature, perfect. So I'm gonna scroll down, and now we're gonna get to the community association disclosure. And like before, for the seller's property disclosure, all of these fields are mapped to seller one. But all of these fields are not set as required. So the system will just jump over them to go to the required field. A workaround for that is what we just did for the seller's property disclosure, is I can make one of these fields required. Well, this first part up here, I don't know what type of association my sellers have. Now, I imagine from having conversations with my sellers, I would actually probably know. But again, I don't want to assume, and I don't want to get anything incorrect. So I'm going to make this name of association, this text box here, I'm going to select that as required. So then the system will stop right here. Tony will be required to fill in this information, and then it'll be much easier for him to fill in all these other fields up here. And then I can leave the rest of them as unrequired, and he can fill in the information as he has it. Continuing to scroll down. I want to double check, make sure there's nothing else that's missing. Perfect. Everything is mapped to Tony. Perfect. And then we have our seller's initials here and here. Now we have our identity theft, wire fraud prevention. Now, for whatever reason, these signature boxes get moved down. I don't know why. So just move them up to the line so it's in the right place. And then we'll scroll down to our wire fraud, or sorry, affiliated marketing. And now we are missing excuse me, signatures here. So now I do want to add my signature. So I'm going to select Tony, click signature, add that here. I also want to add the date signed. So I'll add that right there. And I also want to do the same thing for Pepper. So I change it to blue, add signature, and add date signed right here. Perfect. So it's that simple. In the event that you ever want to reassign or you accidentally put the incorrect assignee, in the menu on the right-hand side, you could change the recipient to whomever is correct. So continuing to scroll down, now we have our purchase and sale agreement. Again, we'll want to double check, make sure all this information is correct. Everything looks good to go. Here's our initial fields. Continuing to scroll down. Keep scrolling. Lots of scrolling. And then perfect, here we get to our exhibits and special stipulations. So we have everything there. Now here are the stipulations that we added before. But remember, I told you we have two different options if we need to add more stipulations. The first is the add additional stipulations, or we can add a text box. So if you want to add a text box to add more stipulations, come up here, select yourself from the drop-down menu. So I'm purple, and then I'm going to click on text box, text. I'm going to add that text box here, and I'm going to format it to take up this whole space. Now I can click in here, and I can just start adding all my steps. Lots and lots and lots. Now you can see here, I added so many stipulations. I have a scroll bar here in that text field. Well, a scroll bar doesn't work in a PDF. So one way to add all these stipulations is if I highlight all of that text, over here on the right-hand side in the menu, I can scroll down to formatting, and I can change my font size to 7-point font. And now all those stipulations fit. Like I said earlier, I'm sure you're not going to gain any new friends or fans by having really tiny stips on a purchase and sale agreement, either by the co-op agent or closing attorney, but it is a workaround to fit all of your stipulations or fit more of them on a single page. Another thing you want to do is you want to uncheck the required field and check read only. That will prevent you from having to fill in or make any changes to these when you go to sign. So there are all my special stipulations. Good to go. Now we're going to scroll down to our signature field. And as I mentioned earlier, I was going to show you how you can hide your client's signatures. To hide your client signatures, you'll come over here to the pen icon, and it's labeled Markup Tools. So we'll select Markup Tools, and then select Line. And then we're just going to add a line over my client's signature. Once you add that line, over here on the right-hand side, excuse me, we'll select the color. We'll make this black, and then we'll select thickness, and we'll make this 10. And then we'll just reposition it so it covers the signature or email. I'm going to right mouse click it, copy, paste, and I'm going to move this second one over Pepper's email address. Now, both of my clients' email addresses are protected from the co-op agent. Like I said, it's not the most beautiful thing, but it does its job of protecting my clients' information. I'm going to scroll down, double check, make sure my signature is there. Perfect. And now we are good to go. If you want to, you can select recipient preview, and you'll be able to see what this looks like either on a computer, a tablet, or a phone. So let's say you're in a multiple offer situation. You need to get this document to your clients as soon as possible. They do have the ability to sign on their phone. Now you'll see here, it's really small and hard to read, but they do have that ability. So if they're out and about, they're running errands or doing something, they can sign this so that way you can get your offer over ASAP. And then you can select from viewing as from the dropdown, and you can select what it would be like for each one of your clients to review and sign. It's just a preview. Nothing you do here will actually affect the documents. So I'm going to click the X in the top right-hand corner. And now I'm going to click on send. And this is going to send these documents to each one of these recipients. So now it has sent, it'll let me know. We'll see here, we're waiting on others. So I'm going to open my email address or email so I can pull up the correct email addresses for each one of these clients. So I'm going to open up my KWFA Tech, and this is going to be my email address for Tony. You can see here we have please DocuSign 1234 Main Street, ESLA and PSA. You can see all these other ones are from previous trainings. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to scroll down. You'll see here's that private message that says, "Hi, Tony. Please be sure to fill in all the info for the disclosures." To get started, I'm going to click Review Documents. All right. So I'm going to click the I agree to use electronic records and signatures. Click Continue. Click Start. And then the system is going to jump automatically to that first signature box. I'll click Sign. It's going to ask you to ask your client to confirm his or her signature, adopt and sign. They can draw or upload one if they want to use a different one. Adopt and sign. Perfect. Now it jumped to that next required field, which, as I pointed out earlier, is the what year is the main dwelling constructed field on the seller's property disclosure. So the system is going to stop here. So now I can fill in 2005. And now it becomes so much easier for your client to come here, fill in any info, and just go through and check all these boxes as needed. So I'm just going to quickly go through here and just, fill in, check these boxes, because I want to show you that by filling them in here, when Pepper goes to sign as signer number 2, they will be, all of them will be filled in, and she can double check all the fields. So I think we're good here. Let me just scroll down to this last page. I can just check a bunch of things here. All right. Then I can click Next, and it'll take me to that signature field. So I'll sign for Tony here. And then again, here on the community association disclosure, it's going to stop me here at that name of the association. So I'm just going to put HOA name here. And then I can more easily scroll up and I can select, all right, perfect. We have a mandatory homeowners association and it's $1,000 a year and it's paid in 4 installments. And then I can fill in contact name here, company, and just fill in all those other fields and continue to scroll down. Transfer 150. There is not a special assessment. This includes our common grounds maintenance. Oh. We have a pool and tennis and a clubhouse. Common area insurance, perfect. There's no litigations. It's not, perfect. And then click initial. We'll sign, initial purchase and sale. And it's going to jump me all the way to the bottom of the purchase and sale. If I scroll up, you can see here are my stipulations, and here they are in their small 7-point font, but they're there. And then I can sign here, and you can see here that the black box is covering my client's email address, so click sign. When your clients are finished signing and filling in all the information, make sure they click this finish button up here. It's then going to ask them if they want to create an account. Click no thank you. They don't need to create one. They'll receive the documents automatically, and they need to make sure they receive this "You're all done" page. Once they receive the "You're all done," that is how they know that they have completed signing, and the next signer can then start. So I'm going to click close here. Then I'm going to open up my personal email here, and now we can sign as Pepper Potts. So you can see right here, Nicholas Core, please sign, 1234 Main Street. And if I scroll down, there isn't that private message here. So because Pepper doesn't need to fill any information in. So I'm going to click Review Documents, and we're going to go through the same process for Pepper. Agree to use electronic signatures, continue, start, and it's going to jump to that first required field, which is on the listing agreement. Click Sign. Ask to adopt a signature, adopt and sign. And then it's going to jump all the way to the bottom of that seller's property disclosure, but I'm going to scroll up because I want to show you, see how all these fields are filled in? So this allows Pepper the opportunity to go through and double check to make sure that all of the information that Tony filled in is correct. And if there are any updates that need to be made, you can, because your clients will be held liable for the information they include here. So if anything is incorrect or wrong, that could affect them at closing. So everything looks good to go. I'll click sign. Again, it's going to jump to the bottom of the community association disclosure. I'm going to scroll up here, just double check and make sure that everything for the HOA is good to go. Initial, sign, sign, initial, sign. And again, our client's email address is blacked out. Pepper is going to click finish. Again, I'll ask her if she wants to create an account. No, thank you. And now Pepper has received the You're All Done page. So now the document can go on to the third and final signer, which is going to be me as their agent. So I'll come into my inbox and we'll see here's my email to please DocuSign 1234 Main Street. And I'm going to click Review Documents. Click Continue. Start. Sign. Now remember, because I'm the last signer, I can make this listing agreement binding. So I added these required text fields. So I'm going to make this binding at 12 p.m. on the 13th. I'm going to click Fill In, Sign. And now those are the only two places on all these documents that I have to sign. So I'm going to click Finish. I don't want to log in because I'm already logged in on a different tab, so I'll click No Thanks. And now I get the You're All Done. So I know everything's been signed. We are good to go. Now, one of the great things that I really, really like about DocuSign is we'll just give this a second to load. But once everyone has signed, DocuSign is going to send out a completed envelope with all of the GAR form, all of the sign forms attached. It is our responsibility as agents that once we have any signed documents, we need to share them with our clients so they can have them for their records. This feature here within DocuSign saves you that step of having to manually email them to your clients. So they do have record of them here. Now, based on how you like to interact with your clients, you may want to put them in an email later on, but this way it ensures that they have their own copy. And they can download them directly from this email. So I'm going to go back into envelopes. I'm going to click refresh right here. See, now it says completed. So I know that everyone has signed those documents. I'm going to go into the documents tab and I'm going to scroll down because remember I said everything defaults into that room docs folder. So now we'll see we have all of these documents with a green check mark that says signed. And these are all the signed copies. So you can see affiliated marketing disclosure dash signed, dash signed, dash signed. Those are all the signed copies. Well, I still want to keep my documents organized. So I want to move all of my signed listing agreement forms into my listing agreement folder. So I'm going to select all of these forms that have to do with the listing agreement that are signed. I'm going to come up to the move icon, select move. I'm going to select a destination, move folders in current room, select listing documents, and move. So now we have all of our documents organized in the correct folders. So down here, I have my purchase and sale and my signed purchase and sale agreement. There's a couple of things I want to show you really quickly that we can do before we go into Command. If you wanted to send all these documents to your clients, you can do that. You can do that from within DocuSign. I don't really love the email functionality here, but let's say you wanted to include or make all 5 listing agreement documents into a single PDF to send to your clients. Or let's imagine you're putting together an offer and the co-op agent said he or she wants to receive all those documents in a single PDF. You can combine documents in DocuSign. To do so, select all the documents that you want to include. Now be mindful you're only able to do this with PDFs, so it must either say signed or have a red PDF icon. So I've selected all the documents that I want. I'm going to roll my mouse over the different icons in the toolbar and I'm going to select combine. And I can give this a new document name. So I'm going to say executed exclusive seller listing agreement, and I'm going to put today's date. And now it's going to show them in alphabetical order, but we can reorder them. So I want the seller's listing agreement to go first. Then I want my seller's property disclosure, then the community association disclosure and affiliated marketing. So just click on the document name and move it into the order that you want. Once you have them in the correct order, you can click save. The page will reload and this combined document will be added to the Room Docs folder. So if I scroll down, you can see here is my executed ESLA with today's date. I want to move that, so I'm going to click on it and drag it into the listing folder, listing docs folder. And here we go. Let's say on the flip side, you're working with a co-op agent and they send you documents that are all combined into a single PDF. You can upload those into DocuSign and you can split them up into separate documents. You would just come over here to add and add from your computer. Now, for example, I'm just going to go ahead and open up this document that I just combined, but pretend that it is from a co-op agent. So if you want to split it into separate documents, open up the PDF, and then up here in the top right-hand corner, there's an icon that looks like a piece of paper with the corner dog-eared. If you roll your mouse over it, it is Document Actions. You can click on this, and then the third option down is Split. Select that, and this will allow us to split this one large document into individual documents. If you roll your mouse over any of the thumbnails, it'll kind of zoom in so you can get an idea of exactly what's on that page. And then over here on the left-hand side is where we're able to rename what those documents will be and what page numbers correspond with them. So we'll start with our executed, let's do exclusive seller listing agreement. And we'll select page 1 through 8. And then it's going to highlight those pages so I know exactly what will be included in this new executed ESLA. I'm going to click Add Document because now I want to add the, let's do don't know why it's capitalized. This will be seller's property disclosure. So this is page 9. So we'll do pages 9 through, that looks like page 15. And just type in those page numbers. It highlights it so I can double check and we're good to go. Now we need to add another document. So this will be our executed community association disclosure. And this will be page 16 through, it's bottom of 18. Perfect. There's their initials. So we'll do 16 through 18. Perfect. Then we'll add our executed, oh, excuse me. Executed, which one is this? This is affiliated marketing. This is page 19. It highlights it. And then we'll do executed wire fraud. This is going to be page 20. So now I've told DocuSign what all the individual documents I want that to be named. Up here in the top right-hand corner, I click Save. The page will reload, and then down in the Room Docs folder, we will now have all of the executed versions of those documents all as a PDF. So that is how you are able to separate one document into multiple individual documents. Now that we have all of our signed documents organized, we've been able to split up documents. Now we need to go into Command because we need to upload those documents to send for compliance review. So I'm going to go back into Command. So I need to add these documents. So first we need to start by adding our listing agreement. So I'm going to click over here into the listed folder. And then I can come over to the right where it says listing agreement and then click add a file. I want to select DocuSign as my source of the files. And now here's where the main benefit of making sure that you click start a transaction within Command is that it's going to link the two systems together so I can add that document directly from DocuSign into Command this way. Since I've organized them into folders, I can select the folder. So I can select listing agreement. And then here, I can pull out, I can come to my exclusive seller listing agreement -signed. Now you'll see we have seller listing agreement, and then dash signed. Always make sure you select the signed version. And then click assign. And it's that simple to add a document. So you can go through that and you can do that one by one. Or since we know we have to attach multiple files, we can click attach multiple files right here. I can select DocuSign as the source. And we'll just go down and we'll add the form for each one of these items. So community association disclosure. So just scroll down. Now here's my listing agreement folder, and I will select the community association disclosure dash signed. I'll do the same thing for seller's property disclosure. Here we go. Seller's property disclosure dash signed. Do take your time because I almost added the incorrect version here. So I'll click dash signed. We'll do Rawls Group affiliated marketing. Again, scroll down. We have our affiliated marketing dash signed. And then we have our wire fraud. We'll scroll all the way down. Wire fraud dash signed. And then click attach. And it's going to upload all of those documents directly into Command. If you want to see a preview of those documents, you can click on the name of the file here, and it will show a preview of this document. So you can make sure that you added the right one. Perfect. There's all of our signatures. And then to close it, you can click the X up here. You can download it or you can print it. If you need to attach a file that doesn't already have a pre-populated field for you, you can hit add item, and here we can add an additional document. So we'll give this a name. So I'll just do full ESLA document. So I can upload that document that I combined. Document type, we have a drop-down menu with the different types. This is not comprehensive of every type of document that you may add to your opportunity, but find the type that is most similar. So I'll just do agreement, and then source of documents, I'll select DocuSign. I'm going to go to the listing agreement folder, and then I'm going to click on the executed ESLA, the combined folder or the combined document with all of them, and click save. And now that will add that to my opportunity right here. Now, once you've gone through and you've added all of your documents, come up to this button right here that click submit to MC. That is submitting it to the Market Center, and that's going to notify Lynn or Alita that there are documents in your opportunity that they need to review. Once they review those documents, you'll get a notification up here at your notification bell that will say a compliance event has been completed. And then right here for status, it'll tell you if they have been approved or rejected. And if they are rejected, there'll be a little text box right here, and it'll give you a reason as to why that document was rejected and what changes you need to make to that document to be compliant. If you need to get back to your room in DocuSign, you can come to Documents and then come over here to the button that says click Go to Transaction, and that will open up another tab with that DocuSign room right there for you. So that is the end of our training this morning. We just went through a ton of information. What questions do you have? What can I clarify for you? What can I show you again? Please feel free to unmute yourself or chat. I want to make sure I answer any of your questions. It is 11:30, so I want to be respectful of your time, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
I'm good for now. I just have to do a lot of practicing, but I'm good.
Yeah. I would recommend that if you don't have a current transaction going on, go ahead and make a test room so you can just get comfortable with the situation, because it's always recommended. You never want to practice on your clients. So, and always feel free, we can set up some time and we can do it together if you want. Just let me know, reach out. I'm always here to help any way I can.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Have a great rest of your day and have a happy Friday the 13th.
You too.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.